When death comes to an Amish home, neighbors arrive before the coroner is called. While Mennonites contact funeral directors, the Amish begin a 3-day ritual unchanged for centuries. The body never leaves home. No embalming, no viewing parlors. Two sister faiths reveal their deepest differences. The first hours after death. The moment an Amish person takes their final breath, community women enter with basins of warm water and homemade lye soap. They wash and dress the deceased using white garments sewn years earlier for this moment. No funeral directors, no professionals. This is sacred family duty. Mennonite families follow a different path. The deceased is transported to funeral homes where licensed embalmers take over. Families choose clothing from the deceased's wardrobe, including jewelry and personal accessories. While Amish communities establish rotation schedules for sitting with the body around the clock, Mennonites gather for scheduled visits. The Amish use ice blocks for natural preservation, while Mennonites rely on refrigeration systems. The coffin construction truth. At dawn, following an Amish death, hammers and saws fill the air. Community men gather in barns, transforming rough pine boards into simple coffins. No measurements taken beforehand, no plans drawn. These craftsmen know dimensions by heart, passed down through generations. The finished product costs roughly $200 in materials. Plain, unvarnished pine with no metal handles, no decorative hardware, no cushioned interior. 6 men slide wooden boards underneath and lift together, bearing the full weight. Meanwhile, Mennonite families browse catalogs of manufactured caskets ranging from $2,000 to $15,000. Hardwood or metal, brass or silver handles, silk or velvet interiors. The selection process often takes days. The Amish coffin completes within 6 hours. The Mennonite casket was manufactured weeks earlier, waiting in showroom. The clothing and preparation code. Amish burial garments follow strict protocols established centuries ago. Women wear white caps, white aprons, and white dresses identical to their wedding attire. Men wear white shirts, black trousers, and familiar coats. These garments aren't purchased for funerals. They're sewn specifically for burial, stored in cedar chests for decades. Mennonite families enjoy complete freedom in final clothing choices. Favorite dresses, treasured jewelry, reading glasses, or wedding rings may accompany the deceased. Some choose formal attire. Others prefer casual clothing reflecting personality. Preparation methods reveal deeper differences. Amish women use traditional herbs and natural preservation techniques their grandmothers taught them. They view this process as final service to the deceased. The body is never left alone. Mennonite families delegate responsibility to certified professionals using chemical embalming for extended viewing periods. This happens away from families in sterile environments, designed for efficiency rather than intimacy. The home versus institution decision. 3 days before an Amish funeral, something extraordinary happens to the deceased's home. Interior walls separating rooms are removed entirely. Furniture disappears into barns and outbuildings. The main floor becomes one large space, accommodating 200 or more mourners. Benches arrive by wagon, the same backless wooden benches used for church services. They're arranged in precise rows facing where the coffin will rest. Windows may be removed, creating additional entry points. The transformation takes an entire day, but when complete, the family home becomes sacred space. Mennonite families avoid this upheaval entirely. They reserve funeral homes with established seating, climate control, and professional acoustics. Some choose church sanctuaries with cushioned pews and sound systems. The deceased is transported to these venues, allowing families to mourn without dismantling living spaces. The Amish approach requires careful planning. 200 people need seating, space for viewing lines, meals, and extended rituals marking 3 days of mourning. The service structure and language. When an Amish funeral service begins, the first words spoken are in Pennsylvania Dutch, connecting the community to European ancestors. The service continues for 3 full hours, with lengthy sermons exploring sin, redemption, and community responsibility. Every word reinforces collective faith, emphasizing how the deceased's life intertwined with the community's spiritual journey. Mennonite services unfold in English, lasting approximately 1 hour. The focus shifts to personal memories, individual achievements, and unique qualities that made the deceased special. Family members and friends share stories celebrating a life well lived, often bringing laughter amid grief. Biblical interpretations differ significantly. Amish ministers preach about community sin and collective redemption, reminding mourners that death comes to all who fall short. The sermon serves as both eulogy and warning, calling the living to examine their spiritual condition. Mennonite pastors emphasize individual salvation and personal relationship with God. They speak of the deceased's faith journey, highlighting spiritual growth and service. The message offers comfort rather than conviction. Music adds another layer of difference. Amish mourners sing unaccompanied hymns from the Ausbund, a 16th century songbook. Each hymn unfolds slowly, with notes held for minutes. A single song takes 20 minutes, creating meditative atmosphere. Mennonite services include instrumental accompaniment, contemporary Christian music, and songs chosen for their connection to the deceased's life. The burial methods and locations. On Amish farms across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, small plots of land hold generations of family members. These private cemeteries exist on property owned by the community, maintained by descendants who will someday join their ancestors in the same soil. When burial day arrives, the men gather with shovels, picks, and the determination to dig a grave 6 feet deep using only human power. The work begins before dawn, with 8 to 10 men taking turns in the increasingly deep hole. No machinery assists them. No professional gravediggers are hired. This labor is considered a final gift to the deceased, a physical expression of the community's commitment to caring for its members from birth to burial. Mennonite families purchase plots in established cemeteries, often decades before they're needed. Professional gravediggers use excavators and other machinery to prepare burial sites quickly and efficiently. The work happens privately, away from family members who are dealing with their own grief. Amish headstones follow strict uniformity requirements. Each marker is identical in size and shape, typically a small rectangular stone with only the deceased's name and dates. No decorative elements are permitted. No personal messages appear. Standing in an Amish cemetery, one marker looks exactly like every other, emphasizing equality in death just as the community practices equality in life. Mennonite cemeteries tell different stories. Headstones vary in size, material, and design. Some families choose elaborate monuments with carved flowers, religious symbols, or lengthy inscriptions celebrating the deceased's accomplishments. Personal touches reflect individual personalities and family preferences. The burial timeline creates perhaps the starkest difference. Amish communities bury their dead within 24 hours of death, viewing quick burial as both practical and spiritual necessity. The body returns to earth before decay becomes noticeable, and the community can begin healing immediately. Mennonite funerals typically occur 3 to 7 days after death, allowing time for embalming, travel arrangements, and extended family notifications. The delay permits more elaborate planning but requires artificial preservation methods that the Amish reject entirely. The mourning and memorial practices. The morning after an Amish burial, life returns to its normal rhythm with startling speed. Men return to their farms, women resume household duties, and children attend school, as if nothing extraordinary has happened. This isn't callousness. It's theology in action, reflecting the belief that excessive grief questions God's will and disrupts the community's essential functions. Mennonite communities expect and encourage extended mourning periods. Grief counseling is available through church programs. Support groups meet regularly. Professional therapists help family members process loss and adapt to life without their loved one. The healing process is viewed as individual and personal, requiring time and often professional guidance. Remarriage expectations reveal another significant difference. Amish widows and widowers face quiet but consistent pressure to remarry within 2 years. The community views marriage as essential for proper household function and spiritual well-being. Remaining single beyond this time frame requires explanation and often generates concern about the person's spiritual condition. Mennonite widows and widowers face no timeline pressure. Some remarry quickly, Others remain single for decades, and still others never remarry at all. The decision is considered entirely personal between the individual and God, without community involvement or expectations. Memorial practices diverge completely. Amish families create no written obituaries, display no photographs of the deceased, and keep no written records beyond basic birth and death dates. Memory is preserved through oral tradition, with stories passed down through generations but never formally documented. Mennonite families often create elaborate memory books with photographs, written tributes from friends and family, and detailed accounts of the deceased's life achievements. These books become treasured family heirlooms, passed down to children and grandchildren as permanent records of lives well lived. The Amish approach to grief counseling centers on practical community support. Neighbors help with farm work, meals appear without being requested, and daily life continues with community assistance filling gaps left by the deceased. Emotional support comes through shared work and continued community presence. The financial and community support systems. When an Amish person dies, the community's mutual aid system activates immediately. Every expense associated with the funeral will be covered by a fund that every family contributes to throughout their lives. The total cost rarely exceeds $500, covering only the materials for the coffin, the white burial garments, and food for the community meal. No funeral director sends a bill. No cemetery charges plot fees. No embalmer submits professional fees. The community provides all labor, from coffin construction to grave digging to meal preparation. Money changes hands only for raw materials that cannot be produced within the community. Mennonite families face entirely different financial realities. Funeral costs typically range from $8,000 to $12,000, including professional services, casket, cemetery plot, headstone, and related expenses. Most families rely on life insurance policies purchased years earlier, though some must arrange payment plans or seek financial assistance from church emergency funds. The community meal following an Amish funeral demonstrates their collective approach to everything, including food preparation. 20 or more women coordinate to feed 200 guests, using ingredients donated by community members and prepared in the deceased's own kitchen or neighboring homes. The meal is elaborate, including multiple meat dishes, numerous side items, and homemade desserts. Mennonite funeral meals, when they occur at all, are typically catered affairs or simple receptions with light refreshments. The expense is borne by the family, and the preparation is handled by professionals rather than community volunteers. Insurance presents theological challenges for both communities, but their responses differ significantly. Amish communities reject commercial life insurance as evidence of distrust in God's provision and community support. Their mutual aid system serves the same function as insurance, but operates on principles of shared responsibility rather than individual policy ownership. Mennonite families generally accept life insurance as responsible financial planning, viewing it as a tool for protecting surviving family members from financial hardship during their grief period. Church teachings support this approach as evidence of wise stewardship rather than lack of faith. The economic impact extends beyond immediate funeral costs. Amish communities provide ongoing support to widows and children, ensuring that farm operations continue and household needs are met through community labor and resources. This support continues for years, if necessary, without formal agreements or written commitments. The children and family involvement. From their earliest years, Amish children participate in every aspect of funeral traditions. Infants attend the 3-day viewing period. Toddlers help with simple preparation tasks, and teenagers take on adult responsibilities during community crisis. Death is not hidden from children but presented as a natural part of life that the community faces together. Mennonite families often make age-appropriate adjustments to funeral participation. Young children might attend only portions of services. Teenagers might be given choices about their level of involvement, and protective measures might shield them from potentially traumatic aspects of death and burial. The educational approaches to mortality differ significantly. Amish children learn about death through direct experience, participating in every funeral that affects their community. They understand burial procedures, grief responses, and community support systems through observation and participation rather than explanation. Mennonite children receive more formal death education through church programs, family discussions, and sometimes professional counseling when dealing with loss. The approach emphasizes understanding emotions, processing grief, and finding healthy ways to remember deceased loved ones. Family hierarchy plays crucial roles in funeral planning and execution. Amish families follow traditional gender and age roles, with older men making major decisions, women handling food and preparation duties, and younger family members supporting wherever needed. These roles are not negotiable and reflect the community's overall social structure. Mennonite families tend toward more collaborative decision-making, with input from various family members regardless of traditional role expectations. Planning meetings might include adult children, close friends, and pastoral staff, creating more democratic approaches to funeral arrangements. Gender-specific responsibilities pass down through generations in both communities but manifest differently. Amish girls learn burial garment construction, food preparation for large groups, and body preparation techniques by observing and gradually participating in these duties. Boys learn coffin construction, grave digging, and community coordination responsibilities. Teaching moments about mortality and community values happen naturally during Amish funerals as children observe adult responses to death and learn appropriate behaviors through modeling rather than instruction. The three-day process provides multiple opportunities for learning through experience rather than explanation. The eternal divide. These two sister faiths, born from the same Anabaptist roots,